AITA for leaving my mom's wedding? I was raised mostly by my mom, Claire. My parents divorced when I was 9. Dad moved away, started another life, and wasn't really around much after that. Mom was my anchor. We didn't have a lot, but she did her best. I used to believe she saw me as the one steady part of her world. I believed I mattered. That changed 2 weeks ago. She got married again, to a man named Dennis. I never liked Dennis. It wasn't anything personal at first, just a feeling. He was polite but distant, always watching, never engaging. When they started dating 3 years ago, he made no effort to get to know me. I'd come home from college on breaks, and he'd barely say a word. My younger sister, Joy, who's 19 now, felt the same. My little brother, Theo, he's only 14, was more neutral, but that's just how he is. We were invited to the wedding, of course. We even helped out with a few things early on. Joy helped Mom pick her dress. Theo helped assemble the wedding favors. I tried to be present, even though I felt increasingly out of place. The day of the wedding was bright and warm, a small outdoor ceremony at a lake resort. The kind of place that looks perfect in pictures. We arrived early, dressed, ready, trying to feel included. That's when things started feeling off. The usher handed us our seating cards. Mine said table 9. Joy and Theo had cards too. Table 9. We looked around. It was in the farthest corner of the reception area, next to a service tent and behind a line of potted trees. Meanwhile, Dennis's kids, he has 2 daughters, 20 and 17, and his extended family were seated right up front. I counted 5 tables surrounding the couple's head table. Every one of them was reserved for Dennis's side. No space for us. When I asked one of the coordinators if maybe it was a mistake, she just gave a tight smile and said, "Those are the placements the bride confirmed." I didn't want to cause a scene. We sat. We tried to joke about the bugs and how the potted tree blocked the stage. Theo kept checking his phone. Joy looked like she was trying not to cry. Then came the speeches. Dennis stood up and talked about how lucky he was to have found a woman so full of grace and to gain daughters who brought light into his life. His voice shook a little. The crowd clapped. Then Mom stood up. She looked radiant. Beautiful, honestly. I felt proud just seeing her until she spoke. She said, "I never thought I'd find this kind of happiness, and I never thought I'd feel like I had a real family again. Dennis and his girls made me feel like I was finally home." That word, finally, it echoed in my chest. I thought I misheard it, but she went on. "Thank you, Marcy and Alana," she said, naming Dennis's daughters. "You showed me what unconditional love feels like. I'm so proud to call you my girls." She never mentioned Joy, never mentioned Theo, never mentioned me, not even once. I didn't stand up. I didn't make a scene. I waited until the clapping died down, then excused myself quietly. I walked through the trees, down toward the lake, and sat on a bench until I couldn't hear the music anymore. Later, that night, I got a message from Mom. It said, "I can't believe you chose to ruin the most important day of my life. You embarrassed me. I expected better from you. You owe me and Dennis an apology." I didn't reply, but now I can't stop thinking, did I overreact?
Update 1.
I didn't respond to Mom's message for days. Every time I opened it, the words blurred together. "You embarrassed me. You owe me and Dennis an apology." I would stare at the screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard, but my body wouldn't move. My chest would tighten. My hands would go cold. I felt like I was drowning in a sentence I couldn't finish. On the 5th night, I called Joy. She answered on the first ring. No hello, just silence for a few seconds, then a shaky, "I was waiting for you to call." We talked for nearly 2 hours, or maybe longer. Time started slipping. There were long pauses, shared memories, tears we didn't try to hide. Joy sounded different. Not angry, just tired. Like something inside her had cracked and the pieces didn't fit back together right. She told me she and Theo left the wedding early. Right after dinner. They didn't tell anyone. Just slipped out the side and walked to the edge of the lake. Theo skipped stones until the sun went down, and Joy cried without saying a word. "No one spoke to us," she said. "Not even the cousins we used to visit every summer. They acted like we weren't supposed to be there." I asked if Dennis's daughters said anything to them. She laughed, bitter, dry. "They looked right through us, Elias, like we were the help." That's when she told me about what happened the next day. She went to Mom's house alone. She didn't tell me or Theo. She just wanted answers. She said Mom looked surprised to see her, like she wasn't expecting to be questioned. They sat on the porch. It was quiet for a few minutes. Joy said she asked about the speeches first, why we weren't mentioned, why Theo, who's still just a kid, was seated behind a hedge with strangers while Dennis's cousin's dog got to sit near the wedding cake. Mom apparently sighed, not apologetically, more like she was tired of hearing it. "I didn't want to make Dennis's family feel overshadowed," she said. "They were nervous about how you kids would react. I needed it to be smooth. It was their day too." "Their day?" Joy told me she froze. "Aren't we your family too?" she asked. Mom looked away and said, "You are. But things are different now." That was it. That was the sentence that broke broke my sister. She stood up and left without another word. Mom didn't follow her, didn't call afterward either. But here's the part Joy didn't tell me until the end of the phone call, the part that twisted the knife. Mom had changed her last name, not hyphenated, not blended. She took Dennis's last name, and she removed ours from her Facebook page completely. She's pretending we're not part of her anymore, Joy whispered, like we were just a chapter she's done reading. That hit me in a way I didn't expect. I knew things were strained, but I never imagined she would rewrite her identity like that, like we were a bad memory she needed to erase. But there was something else, something Joy only found out because of a slip-up. Dennis's younger daughter had posted photos from the wedding on her Instagram. In one of the captions, she wrote, "So happy to officially have a mom again. Love you, Claire. Can't wait to start fresh with our real family now. Real family." Claire liked the post, then commented, "Love you too, sweetheart. So lucky to be your mom, not stepmom. Mom." And that was when Joy lost it on the phone. She started sobbing and kept saying, "What did we do wrong? Why weren't we enough?" I didn't have an answer. I still don't. I sat there after the call ended, staring at the ceiling in the dark, listening to the silence of my apartment. And I started thinking about the little things. How Mom stopped putting our childhood photos on the fridge 2 years ago. How she used to call every Sunday, and then it became once a month. How, the last time I visited, all the rooms had been repainted, and our old bedroom doors had been replaced with guest signs. How did I not see it before? But here's the real twist, the part that broke me. Earlier today, Theo texted me. He wanted to talk. I called him right away, worried, because he doesn't usually reach out. He said, "I think I did something bad." He told me he had gone back to Mom's house, alone. He said he wanted to give her a card he made for her birthday. He spent hours on it, cut out pictures, glued in flowers, even wrote a poem. He said he waited until Dennis wasn't home because Dennis makes the air feel colder. He handed her the card, and she took it, but she didn't read it. She smiled politely and set it on the counter, then said, "That was sweet, Theo, but you can't keep showing up unannounced. Dennis needs calm. He works a lot. He doesn't like surprises." Theo asked if she'd call him later. She said she'd try. That was 3 days ago. She hasn't called. When he told me this, he didn't cry, but I could hear the shake in his voice. Then he said, "Elias, MIA bad. Kit, is that why she doesn't want me anymore?" I told him no, over and over again. But the truth is, I'm not sure I believe it. Joy told me she needs space. Theo's trying to give Mom another chance, but she's already closing the door on him and me. I still haven't replied to her message. I don't know if I will.
Update 2.
2 days ago, I wasn't expecting any calls. I was home alone, sitting on my balcony, trying to read a book I couldn't concentrate on, when my phone lit up with an unknown number. I let it ring twice. I thought about letting it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. "Hello," I said. There was a pause. Then, "Elias, this is Dennis." I didn't speak right away. My heart started pounding in my ears. His voice was calm, too calm, like someone about to deliver news they had already decided was fair, whether you liked it or not. "I wanted to talk to you man to man," he said. "Clear the air." I didn't say yes or no. I just waited. "I know the wedding felt awkward. For you," he continued. "I know it wasn't what you expected, but you have to understand, we're trying to build something new. A fresh start. That means some boundaries had to change." I stayed silent. He went on. "You and your siblings. You're a part of Claire's past. Marcy and Alana are her future." I felt a knot form in my chest. I sat up straight, gripping the arm of the chair. I still hadn't said anything. "She's not trying to erase you," he added. "But life moves forward. You can't expect her to keep holding on to every old connection when she's trying to build a peaceful home." I finally spoke. "So we're baggage?" He sighed. "It's not personal. It's just what makes sense. We need harmony, not complicated history." I nearly hung up. My hand twitched over the screen, but I forced myself to stay on the line. "Did she ask you to say this?" I asked. He hesitated, just long enough to confirm everything. "She's hurt," he said. "She didn't expect you to walk out. She thinks you're punishing her for being happy." That sentence hung in the air like smoke. Punishing her for being happy. I swallowed hard. I looked out at the trees swaying in the breeze, trying to focus on something steady. "Is that how she really sees us?" I asked. "As obstacles, reminders she wants to forget?" He didn't answer that. Instead, he said, "You'll always be welcome if you can be respectful." Respectful. That word felt loaded, like an ultimatum wrapped in politeness. I hung up. My hands were shaking, and I sat there for a long time, not moving. But the real blow didn't come until later that evening. Joy called. Her voice was sharp, panicked. "Elias, did you know what Dennis did to Theo?" I froze. "What do you mean?" Apparently, Theo had tried again. He'd gone back to Mom's house that afternoon. She wasn't home. Dennis answered the door. He told Theo she was out and that she was busy adjusting to her new life. Then he told him, quietly, calmly, the same tone he used with me, that it might be best if he called before ever coming by again. And then he told him to try not to get too attached. Those were his exact words. Theo didn't understand what he meant. Not really. But he left, again, with the card he made still in his hand. Joy picked him up from the bus stop and said he looked pale, like someone had scraped the color out of his face. He didn't say a word all the way home, just sat with his arms folded, staring out the window. That night, Joy found the card in the kitchen trash, torn in half. We don't know if it was Dennis or Mom or if Theo did it himself, but the pieces were there, crumpled and damp. I didn't sleep that night. None of us did. And just when I thought things couldn't twist further, something else happened. Early the next morning, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from an unfamiliar number. It said, "I thought you should know. Claire's changing her will. Dennis wants to adopt the girls legally and cut ties with the old family. Thought you deserved a heads up. Don't ask who I am." That was all it said. I showed Joy. She turned white. We don't know who sent it. Maybe a distant relative. Maybe someone from Dennis's side who feels guilty. But it changed everything. Because now it's not just about seating arrangements or forgotten speeches. It's about being erased, deliberately, officially, quietly. It's about a mother who is no longer choosing to grow her family, but replace it. I haven't spoken to Mom since before the wedding. I haven't replied to her message. I wasn't sure I would. But now, I'm not even sure I can.
Update 3.
A few days after the call with Dennis, everything suddenly spiraled into something I never could have imagined. It started with a phone call late one evening. It was Joy. Her voice was shaky, barely holding back tears. She told me she had gone back to Mom's house, but this time she wasn't alone. She had brought Theo with her. They wanted to confront Mom face to face, hoping to understand what was going on, hoping maybe, just maybe, to find some way back in. When they arrived, the front door was left wide open. That alone felt strange to them. Inside, Mom was there, but not by herself. Dennis was standing in the living room. His posture was stiff and his eyes cold. He was speaking in hushed tones, but there was a sharp edge to his voice. It wasn't a welcoming scene at all. Joy and Theo stepped inside cautiously, the familiar smell of the house now mixed with tension. Before Mom even turned to greet them, Dennis stepped forward and said, "I think this is enough for today." The words cut through the air like a knife. Joy's voice cracked as she replied, "Enough? We just want to talk, Mom. Please." Mom averted her gaze, her face unreadable. After a long pause, she said softly, "I'm sorry. This isn't the time." Theo, trying to stay brave, stepped forward. "But Mom, we miss you. We want to be part of your life." Dennis's expression hardened as he cut in sharply. "That's not possible right now. You're making things difficult." Joy's frustration boiled over, her voice trembling with anger. "Difficult? We're your children. You're the one shutting us out." Mom's eyes finally met theirs, glistening with a mix of sadness and something I couldn't quite place. "It's complicated. I'm trying to protect you, but I also have to protect what I've built with Dennis and his family." Joy's voice broke. "Protect us or protect him?" Dennis's tone darkened, almost threatening. "If you don't back off, you'll regret it." The room felt suffocating, every word heavier than the last. I was on the phone with Joy during this entire exchange, hearing the fear in her voice, the helplessness. Theo was quietly crying in a corner. Mom said nothing to stop Dennis. She let it happen. Then, just like that, Mom closed the door behind them. No goodbye, no soft words, just the cold click of the lock. Joy's voice shattered on the line. "I don't know what to do, Elias. I thought maybe things could change, but Dennis is like a wall between us." Mom stopped fighting for us. The silence that followed was filled with the weight of everything falling apart. I felt hollow, like I had lost something I didn't know I could lose. That night, as I sat alone in my apartment, I realized it wasn't just Mom choosing Dennis over us. Dennis wasn't just standing in the background. He was actively pushing us away, and Mom was letting it happen. More than that, she seemed afraid of him. The next day brought even more shock. I got a message from an unknown number with a photo attached, a picture of Mom and Dennis, but also of something else. A contract. It looked official, legal. I zoomed in and saw it was a document about Mom's house and something about granting Dennis full authority over financial decisions, completely excluding Mom's children. The message said simply, "You deserve to know what's really happening." My heart sank. This wasn't just emotional distance. It was a full erasure of us from her life and from her future. The same day, I tried calling Mom, hoping for any sign that she still cared, that she might fight back against Dennis's influence. But she didn't pick up. I left a voicemail, my voice breaking as I pleaded for a conversation, for a chance to understand. The following afternoon, I went to Mom's house unannounced, driven by desperation. The door was locked, no sign of anyone home. But through the window, I saw Dennis sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a photo album, the one with our childhood pictures. I could see him flipping through the pages with a sneer, then snapping it shut. I knocked hard, waiting for an answer, but none came. Just silence. That night, I called Joy and Theo again. They told me Dennis had installed new locks on all the doors and even security cameras that captured anyone coming near the house. He had made it clear to the neighbors to alert him if they saw us approaching. It felt like we were being erased, isolated, locked out of the one place that should still be home. I don't know how this will end. I don't know if Mom will ever stand up for us again. But what I do know is that Dennis isn't just a husband now, he's a gatekeeper, and Mom has handed him the keys. And I refuse to let my family be forgotten. I won't give up. Not now. Not ever.
You are not the AITA. Claire didn't just fail as a mother, she outsourced motherhood to a man who treats her children like dust on his polished floor. Your quiet quiet dignity was met with emotional exile. Your love for your mom repaid with passive-aggressive silence and seating near shrubbery. Dennis. He's not just a red flag. He's a walking clearance rack of psychological manipulation. Claire chose convenience over connection, optics over offspring. Walking out wasn't disrespectful, it was the most respectful thing you could do. Do for yourself, my suggestion. Don't chase a home where you're treated like clutter. Build one where you're wanted. Before we jump into the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know your favorite part in the comments.
Story 2.
AITA for struggling to accept my mom's new life while I'm left holding everything together. I just graduated high school a few months ago, and I live with my younger sister Lila. She's 10. Until recently, we all lived together as a family, me, Lila, Mom, and Dad, in a quiet little neighborhood on the edge of a mid-sized town. It wasn't perfect. Actually, it hadn't been good for years, but it was what we had. My parents' marriage had been unraveling slowly, quietly, for a long time. Arguments became more frequent, the cold silences lasted longer, and the affection disappeared completely. I think it finally broke for good about 7 months ago. One day, Dad just packed up and left. No big fight.
No scouting.
Just a text to me that said, "Staying at my sister's for a while. Take care of your sister." At first, I thought it was temporary. Mom cried for the first few days. Then she stopped. She didn't talk about it, just moved around the house like a guest. She started leaving more. For errands. For fresh air. I'd hear her car pull out after dark and not return until morning. Sometimes she'd bring back groceries or a new plant for the living room, like she was trying to convince herself she was doing something meaningful. Meanwhile, everything else fell on me. I didn't really have a choice. Lila's still just a kid, and Dad was gone. I made her breakfast, got her ready for school, packed her lunch, cleaned the house, made dinner, helped with homework. I tried to keep things normal for her. Mom barely noticed. She was always distracted. Her job was a part-time position at a call center that kept cutting her hours. Then she quit, saying she was too tired of being talked down to and wanted to finally live. She started taking odd jobs, pet sitting, reselling old furniture, doing makeup for people on the weekends, but nothing consistent. She started talking a lot about freedom, about how she was finally choosing herself. She said she'd never had the chance to figure out who she was. She told me, "I was your age when I had you. I skipped everything. I'm not going to skip life anymore." I wanted to understand. I really did, but it was hard to be sympathetic when Lila was crying because Mom forgot to pick her up from school again. Or when I had to stay home from my part-time job to watch her because Mom was running late. Again, she wasn't cruel. She didn't scream. She didn't hit, but she wasn't there. And when she was there, she was distant. She'd sit on the couch vaping, scrolling through her phone, laughing at videos. She'd hug Lila absent-mindedly, then vanish into her room for the rest of the evening. It felt like we were roommates, like she was a college student crashing at our place instead of our mother. Then one day, she told me she was seeing someone new. His name was Arden. She said he was different, not like your father. He worked at a mechanic shop across town, and they'd met when her car broke down. I didn't ask questions. I didn't want to know. But it didn't take long to notice that Arden's name started popping up more than Lila's in conversations.
Update 1.
It started like any other Thursday. I had back-to-back shifts at the grocery store, and school had just started back up for Lila after winter break. She was trying to get into the rhythm again, juggling homework and this new weird science project about ecosystems. I'd been the one helping her with that stuff lately, not Mom. I reminded Mom 3 times that morning. "You're picking her up today, right? I won't be off until 7. She was sipping her coffee, scrolling her phone, and barely looked up. Yeah, I got it. Relax." Lila kissed me goodbye, her little hand still half asleep, backpack slung way too low on her shoulders. I watched her go, thinking nothing would go wrong. At around 6:15 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't know. "Hello." A small voice whispered back. "It's me, Lila. I'm outside. The door's locked." I froze in the middle of aisle 5. "Where's Mom?" "I don't know. The teacher walked me home." I waited at school. It was getting dark. I dropped everything, left my cart half-stocked, and told my manager I had a family emergency. I didn't even wait for a reply. When I got home, she was curled up on the concrete steps. Her knees were pulled to her chest, her face streaked with dried tears. Her cheeks were red from the cold, and she hadn't eaten since lunch. "I didn't want to call you," she whispered, "because I didn't want you to be mad at her. That hurt more than anything." Even now, she was trying to protect Mom. I wrapped her in my jacket and took her inside. I called Mom 6 times. No answer. answer. Straight to voicemail. I texted. Nothing. Lila sat at the kitchen table while I microwaved leftovers. She stared blankly at the plate I set in front of her. I didn't mean to be a problem, she said, then took the smallest bite, like she wasn't even hungry. Finally, around 8:03 p.m., my phone buzzed. A single message.
Sadi.
Lost track of time. At Arden's. Can you feed her? That was it.
No paleri, no pani, no cham.
I stared at that message, rereading it over and over again, hoping it would somehow morph into something more human, more motherly. It didn't. She came home at midnight. I heard the keys fumble in the lock, the door creak open. She walked in like she always did, heels clicking, perfume lingering, a small smile on her lips like nothing had happened. I stood in the hallway. I waited for her to say something. She didn't. Just walked past me. Didn't even look in my direction. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did Lila. I heard her tossing in bed. At one point, she came into my room and crawled under the blanket with me. She held onto my arm like it was the only thing anchoring her to this world. The next day, I didn't go to work. I called Lila's school and told them she wasn't feeling well, which wasn't exactly a lie. That afternoon, while Lila was napping on the couch, I checked Mom's purse. I know I shouldn't have, but I had to understand. Something. Anything. Inside, there was a receipt from a bar across town. Timestamped 5:46 p.m. Another from a boutique. 7:12 p.m. 2 vape cartridges. A crumpled up letter from the leasing office saying rent was overdue. Again, she had money for drinks, clothes, and vapes, but not for food, not for bills, not even for her daughter's after-school pickup. I put the receipt back. Everything felt like a weight pressing on my chest. Later that night, when Mom noticed I was cold toward her, she sighed loudly and finally said, "You don't get it. I need time for me. I gave up everything when I had you too. I'm trying to figure out who I am again." I looked at her. "You left your 10-year-old daughter outside, alone in the cold. That's who you are right now." She flinched like I'd slapped her. Then, without a word, she went into her room and slammed the door. The next day, I got a call from someone I didn't recognize, Maya, one of Mom's old co-workers. She sounded nervous. "Hey, I wasn't sure if I should say anything, but your mom's been hanging around Arden a lot. And, well, people are talking." Talking?
Yeah.
About Arden maybe not being the safest guy. A couple of people think he's bad news. Just keep an eye out, okay? I hung up without saying much, but now my thoughts started spinning. That night, Lila asked if she could sleep in my room again. I said yes. She whispered in the dark, "Do you think Mom still loves us?" I didn't answer right away. I think she wants to, but sometimes wanting isn't enough. She didn't say anything else, just held onto my hand until we both drifted off. I didn't know how to fix this, but I knew I had to try. Even if Mom didn't show up the way she should, I would. For Lila, always.
Update 2.
When Arden moved in, it happened faster than I could wrap my head around. One Saturday morning, Mom sat me down with this airy, excited look on her face. She twirled her hair around her finger like she used to when she was my age and said, "So, Arden's going to start staying over. Just sometimes, you know, nothing big." I didn't say anything at first. Arden had been around more lately, dropping by in the evenings, making himself drinks in our kitchen, laughing a little too loudly at things Mom said. I didn't like the way his eyes always lingered just a second too long when I walked into the room. But I also didn't want to start a fight.
"Fine," I said.
"Just don't let it mess with Lila's routine." She waved me off like I was being dramatic. The next day, I tripped over a pair of his boots in the hallway. By Thursday, there were boxes in the guest room. By the end of the week, his cologne was clinging to the bathroom towels and his razor was next to Mom's toothbrush. He was no longer staying over. He had moved in, fully, quietly, like mold creeping into corners when no one's paying attention. Arden wasn't rude, exactly. He wasn't loud or obvious, but he was present in this strange, heavy way that changed the air in every room. He never offered to help around the house, never asked if we needed anything. He'd sit on the couch, legs spread wide, remote in hand, watching endless streams of sports or action movies. He never spoke to Lila unless she was in his way. He never addressed me directly unless he had to, but he watched, constantly, from the corners of rooms, from behind the fridge door, from the shadows of doorways. There were moments I felt him looking at me in the mirror, not like a stepfather or even a friend of the family, more like someone studying a problem or waiting for something to go wrong. Mom was blind to it, maybe because she wanted to be. Lila hated him immediately. She didn't have the words for it, but kids know. She would go quiet whenever he entered a room. She'd shift to the other side of the couch. At night, she locked her bedroom door. I noticed that she had never done that before. One night, I overheard her trying to talk to Mom. "I don't like him," she said softly. "He gives me a bad feeling." Mom didn't even look up from her phone. "He's not trying to be your dad, Lila. Just give him a chance, okay? You don't always have to like everyone." But enough. That was the end of it. That same night, the first fight happened. It wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive. It was worse than that. It was surgical. I was brushing my teeth when I heard them through the wall. Arden's voice was like ice. "If you don't handle your damn kids, I will." Mom snapped something back, her voice tight and controlled. Something about boundaries. Something about my house. His laugh was bitter. "It's our house now. Isn't that what you said?" Then silence. Then footsteps. Then the front door slamming hard enough to rattle a picture off the wall. Lila came into my room 5 minutes later.
She didn't say anything.
Just climbed into my bed, eyes wide and glassy. I held her and stroked her hair until she fell asleep. This kept happening. The arguments, the door slamming, the watching. Then one night, I walked into the kitchen around midnight to get water. Arden was already there. He didn't move when I entered, just stood in the dark, leaning against the counter, sipping from a glass. The light from the fridge cast long shadows across his face. I froze. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then, without turning to look at me, he said, "You think you've got her figured out, don't you? Your mom. Like she's some broken toy you can fix." I didn't reply. He sipped again. "She's not what you think." I grabbed my water and left. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the glass. The next morning, Mom acted like everything was normal. Pancakes, syrup, and fake cheerfulness. Arden was gone. Again. She smiled too wide, like she had something to prove.
But she didn't fool me.
One day, a neighbor, Ms. Grady from down the street, knocked on our door. She pulled me aside when Mom was in the other room.
"I saw him," she said.
"That man.
Arden.
He was arguing with someone outside the liquor store last night. It got physical."
"What?"
She nodded.
"He pushed a man."
Then threatened him. Said something about, "What's mine is mine. Just be careful, sweetheart. Watch over your sister." That night, I took Lila to my room again. We lay in bed with the door locked. "I don't like him," she whispered. "I know," I said. "Why does a mom care?" I had no answer, but I promised myself that night I would never let Arden hurt her. Not Lila. Not ever. No matter what Mom refused to see.
Update 3.
I was restocking shelves at work when my phone buzzed, tucked deep in my apron pocket. Unknown number. I ignored it the first time, thinking it was spam. Then it buzzed again. Voicemail. It was the school. Lila's teacher has noticed some changes in her behavior. She seems unusually distracted, withdrawn, and tired during class. We'd like to schedule a meeting, just to check in. My stomach dropped. After my shift, I called back and agreed to come in. The meeting was set for Thursday morning. That evening, I asked Mom if she could take the morning off work to join me. I kept it casual, hoping not to trigger another eye roll or snide comment. I told her the school wanted to talk about Lila's focus, her energy, her well-being. Mom was painting her nails on the couch, legs curled up under her, her phone buzzing beside her every few seconds. Arden wasn't home. She barely looked up. "You're basically her parent now anyway," she said with a laugh. "Go for it." I stood there in the hallway, stunned. She didn't even pretend to care anymore. The next morning, I arrived at the school alone. The guidance counselor, Ms. Healy, greeted me with a soft smile and warm eyes. The kind of smile you only get from someone who's already seen too much. Her office was cozy. Beanbag chairs, posters about kindness, tissues on every surface. She motioned for me to sit, and Lila's teacher, Ms. Tran, joined us. They started with kindness. Always kindness. But underneath it was concern. "Lila used to be one of our most engaged kids," Ms. Tran said gently. "But lately she's elsewhere. She stares out the window. She doesn't answer questions. Sometimes she lays her head down on her desk. We've noticed dark circles under her eyes. She's not her usual self." Ms. Healy leaned forward. "We just want to make sure she's okay. Is everything stable at home?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. How could I explain that our home hadn't been stable in months? That I was 17 and barely keeping things together? That Arden was a dark shadow haunting our living room? That Mom had stopped asking about school or dinner or even how our day was? That sometimes I'd wake up to find Lila sleeping at the foot of my bed like a scared puppy, and sometimes I'd lie awake listening for footsteps I hoped wouldn't come. "I try," I finally whispered. "I cook. I help her with homework. I get her to bed on time. I make sure she brushes her teeth and packs her lunch." I blinked, and tears slipped down without warning. "I'm trying." Ms. Healy gently handed me a tissue. She didn't say anything for a long time.
"Just let me cry."
After the meeting, Lila came out to meet me in the hallway. She looked so small in her oversized hoodie, dragging her backpack like it weighed 100 pounds. She She reached up and took my hand. "Why does a mom want to come to these things?" she asked quietly. I knelt down so I could look her in the eye. "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I'll always come." "Okay." She nodded, and for a moment, I saw the tiniest flicker of relief in her eyes. That night, I sat alone at the kitchen table, the dishes from dinner still in the sink, the clock blinking 10:40, 1 p.m., the hum of the fridge the only sound in the room. I stared at the countertop until it blurred, and then I cried. Not quiet tears, big, ugly sobs that shook my whole body. I cried for Lila, for the girl who had learned to lock her door at night, for the child who had once adored her mother and now barely spoke to her. I cried for myself, for every time I had to step up when I wasn't ready, for the sleep I'd lost, the grades that had slipped, the days I spent at school wondering if Arden would be home when I got back. I cried because I was angry.
So angry.
I had lost my mother, and the woman who took her place, smiling at Arden, rolling her eyes at our pain, drinking red wine on the porch while we folded laundry. She wasn't coming back. Then something happened I didn't expect. Lila walked in. She should have been asleep. She stood in the doorway, silent, watching me cry, and then she came over and climbed into my lap.
She didn't say anything, just held me.
Just like I held her all those nights. We sat like that, the two of us in the dark kitchen, wrapped in each other's pain. Two children, raising each other. But as I held her, something in me changed. It wasn't a dramatic moment, no lightning in the sky, no swelling music. It was quiet, but it was real. I realized that I couldn't wait for Mom to wake up. I couldn't hope Arden would disappear on his own. We weren't safe, and something had to change.
Soon.
Callan's story is a harsh mirror reflecting the bitter truth. Sometimes adults abdicate their roles, leaving kids to bear burdens no one their age should carry. No sugarcoating here. That mother's choice to prioritize herself over her daughter's safety and stability crosses a line. Callan's protective instincts and sacrifice highlight profound courage, and it's clear who's failing in this family. Is Callan the AITA? Absolutely not. He stepped up when no one else would, fought silent battles to shield his sister, and made a tough call to escape harm's way. The mom, she's utterly absent, physically and emotionally, choosing fleeting freedom over responsibility. Arden's ominous presence only thickens the toxic atmosphere. This isn't about perfect families. It's about who chooses to act when the walls crumble. Callan's actions are right, necessary, and brave. Not the asshole here. No question. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got a story to share? Drop it in the comments and let us know which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to check out AITA for refusing to forgive my coach. Click here to watch it now.